Ever since releasing Regency Solitaire back in 2015, Grey Alien Games has been one of the most consistent developers working today. Even though it didn't exactly look like my type of game, I was instantly charmed by the Jane Austen-inspired story and its unique take on the solitaire card game, ultimately giving it a B+ score. 2 years later, when Grey Alien introduced me to Shadowhand, a game that mixed solitaire with one-on-one combat, I was once again hooked and gave the game a B+. That turns out to be the exact same score that I gave Ancient Enemy, the 2020 follow-up that refined the combat and added a lot to the already clever gameplay. Hell, even when the developer went wildly off script and created a SimCity-style management simulator called T-30, I found myself once again giving a Grey Alien game a score of B+. Now, almost a full decade later, we're headed back to Edgerton for more upstairs-downstairs shenanigans with Regency Solitaire II. Dust off your fanciest clothes because you've been invited to a high society soiree when I review Grey Alien's newest card game. After navigating her way through love and backstabbing in the hoity-toity world of Regency Solitaire, Bella is ready for the next chapter of her charmed life. She's now married to Henry and wanting to take more responsibility in running Edgerton, including throwing parties and designing the perfect garden. But wouldn't you know it, because everything gets flipped upside down when Bella's brother-in-law returns from his journeys abroad and secretly gets married to a maid! Yeah, that may not seem so bad today, but it's a massive scandal that everybody's talking about across the entire country. Now, it's up to Bella to go on an epic journey to learn more about Marietta the maid and, if all goes well, uncover the secret to who her parents are. Of course, that scandalous setup is really just an excuse to play through a series of solitaire-inspired card puzzles. Much like the first game, the sequel doesn't really play by the normal solitaire rules. You won't need to worry about matching suits or moving cards around because really the only thing you have to worry about is counting up and down. It's shockingly easy. If you draw an 8, you're looking for either a 7 or a 9. This gives us a fun scenario where you're quickly creating a lengthy combo where we go from 8 to 9 to 10, and then back down to 9, and then right back up to 10. The trick is to keep going until there's no more moves that you can make, forcing you to draw your next card and start the combo all over again. One of the best things about this series is how different the card layup is for each of the stages. Forget the boring old columns you get from the standard solitaire game, because here we get everything from simple rows to scattered piles of cards. Many of the stages have a maze component to them, forcing players to find keys and other items to unlock the doors. Sometimes there's a vase in the way, or maybe you'll have to cut down a hedge, forcing you to locate a bouquet of flowers and maybe a pair of shears. The goal is to fully clear the table before running out of cards to draw. If you can do that, you'll earn 3 stars and money to spend on upgrading the garden. Now, once you've mastered the basics, the game is quick to introduce a number of special abilities that'll help you keep the combos going. There are actually 6 different powers to unlock and upgrade, all of which have a cooldown timer that's tied to clearing out cards. For example, one of the first powers you'll earn is to randomly remove cards from the table. Another one will be to just completely shuffle all of the cards, while another will show you what's hidden under the face-down cards. My personal favorite is the one where you can change any card into a wild card, allowing you to not only remove the card from the table, but then to later use it to extend your combo. I really like how this sequel expands on these powers and actually makes them more useful the further in you go. Another thing I really like about this series is how much content there is for each of these games. The story is spread across 18 different stages that take you from Edgerton to Scotland to London and then back again. There are nearly 200 puzzles to complete in the game, which will take you, somewhere between 8 to 10 hours to complete. And that's before you unlock all the collector's edition stages. There really is a lot to do in this sequel, which is great news because the grind of clearing the table of cards is both really satisfying and relaxing. After playing games like this, it's really hard to go back to the old vanilla solitaire. Now, when I reviewed the original game back in 2015, one of my complaints involved the level-specific missions. I noted that there aren't enough of them, and they just kept repeating a lot of the same objectives over and over. Sadly, that continues to be the case in Regency Solitaire II. You'll get a lot of objectives that involve earning a certain amount of stars and money, with the occasional task of uncovering a gossip letter or some other story-driven item. I guess I just wish that these optional side quests were more original and diverse. It's one of the only things about this game that feels half-baked. The truth is, I had a really good time with Regency Solitaire II, and I have no problem recommending it. I especially liked the story between Horatio and Marietta and all of the chaos that brings to the uptight community. That said, this game feels more like an expansion to the first game than a proper sequel. There isn't much here that feels like an evolution to the formula, and that's a little disappointing. It's also coming after 2 combat-heavy card games, both of which I ended up liking more than Regency Solitaire II. The first installment actually had the luxury of coming out before Shadow Hand and Ancient Enemy, whereas the sequel forces me to take a side between the 2 different styles of Solitaire. While I certainly enjoy the slower pace of Regency Solitaire, I found myself yearning for more combat. I really liked how Grey Alien's previous 2 card games had both the solitaire puzzles as well as the solitaire battles. I still had a great time exploring the United Kingdom in this new adventure. The different locations are all fun to visit, and the hand-drawn graphics continue to impress. This is a game that definitely looks the part, and that's half the charm of a game like Regency Solitaire II. Couple the stylish visuals with genuinely fun card puzzles, and you have yet another great game from one of the most consistent developers working in the games industry today. We're headed back to Edgerton for more scandals and drama. That's right, it's Regency Solitaire II, the surprisingly fun and fast-paced card game that turns traditional solitaire on its head. Get ready to clutch those pearls as Bella navigates her way through high society by clearing the table of cards. Now with more power-ups and upgrades. While well-written and certainly fun to play, the sequel fails to expand on the original and feels like a step backwards after Grey Alien's previous 2 combat-focused solitaire outings. Regency Solitaire II is fun and charming, but I think we're starting to see diminishing returns from this formula. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. Who is the most consistent developer working today? Big or small, I'm looking for a developer that you'll pay attention to every time they announce a new game. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we're going to be back next week with a bunch more reviews. Currently working on that Llamasoft collection, Dead End City, Genie Reprise, Type King, Slam and Roll Airhead, Revenge of the Ronin, Quadroids, and more. So much more. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,